Yes, a sub $1,000 laptop that's a beast. Woo! So if you want to upgrade from Windows Home to Windows Pro, or just get insanely cheap Windows and Office 2016 keys, head on down to 0 and 9, links are in the description, and I even have a discount code for you, and they also have cheap gaming keys too. Tally-ho there, champs. Now let's see how the Xiaomi NoteBook Pro is with content creation. So here is the SpecPerfView benchmarks. You can test it out yourself. It's SpecPerfView 3, so you can test that against your own laptop. It only has an MX150, so that's 2 gigabytes of RAM with that graphics card. It's not going to be a 3D beast, so just bear that in mind, but it will get you out of jail. It will do 3D modeling, especially if you're doing basic stuff. It'll be able to handle it, no problems. Actually, running through the benchmark looked pretty good, but it's not going to compare to something with a GTX 1050, 1060, 1070. So let's see how it performs in the timeline with Premiere Pro. This has a i7 8550U, so it's a quad-core 15-watt part. It has an MX150 graphics card and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Sub $1,000 you can pick this up. This model here is around 1,100 or something like that with the 16 gigs RAM. Well worth it. The performance is really good. Doesn't overheat. Performs very well. The last few videos I've edited with this laptop, no problem. Very good for video editing. 1080p display. I can actually edit with the trackpad. The trackpad is good enough to edit with. I would say it's very good for content creation. The display is a 1080p display, so you won't be able to fit that many tracks. So you might have to minimize those tracks if you want to, see all your tracks. But if you have a higher resolution display, obviously you can display more tracks. It's around 300 nits of brightness I measured and around 87% sRGB color gamut, but it is very color accurate. So even though it doesn't have the widest color gamut, it is nice and contrasty, a great display for content creation because it is very color accurate. I can see my pinks look pink. I can see, even looking at the YouTube website, that the red looks red off the YouTube logo. So the color accuracy is spot on here. Even though it doesn't have the widest color gamut, it is a bit glossy and it doesn't seem to have a reflective coat. So that's something to note. Let's go ahead and find out how it is in the timeline. First of all, we'll go on the render times. If we're just talking about render times, we're talking about pretty much the same speed as a Surface Book 2 13-inch with a GTX 1050 in it. So very good performance here. Obviously it's not going to compete to the 45 watt parts of the XPS 15, even the MacBook Pro, etc. But for the parts you get in this, it performs very well. And if you pump in about 25 watts, you will get a big gain in performance there in rendering. Alright, so let's quickly see how this performs in the timeline. Look here for the green marker. When that is not green, when it goes yellow, that means it is dropping frames. So let's do a bit of scrubbing. We're at full here, so this is full, and I'm actually doing it off the hard drive that the Windows operating system's on. This has 2 hard drives. You will get the better performance if you put it on the second M.2, but every other laptop I've tested on the OS hard drive, so this will be the same for this. But as you can see, 4K color correction, everything smooth scrubbing, beautiful like butter at full. Okay, now let's see if it will play it back. Let's go back. So no, it's not playing that back at full, but it is very smooth. It may only dropped a couple of frames here or there. You can see it is dropping a few frames. Let's see if it's any good where the photos are, the high resolution photos are. Look at that, the high resolution photos, no problems. It's not dropping frames there. At full, this is at full. So this is really good. It's 4K footage. Let's try a bit with color correction again. 4K full color correction. As you can see, it's dropping frames there. At full. Let's try it at half. Half, no problems. And that's how I would edit. I would usually edit with a laptop at half Yeah, XPS 15 and stuff like that, I would edit at full. But even though that XPS 15 can do it at full, I still would usually edit at half because I like the super buttery feel. So let's see if it can actually play back the footage at full with no color correction. So I'll just delete the adjustment layer where the color correction is, and it is at full 4K footage compressed straight out of the camera. Let's see if it can play it at full. Boom, there you go. It actually can play footage back at full 4K, no problems. Sorry about that, the wind just blew the door open, but that's at full. It started to drop frames at the end, but it's still butter smooth. And it's just the color correction that really just takes it over the top. You know, it's only a 2 gigabyte graphics card, so yeah, that just takes it over the edge, but still plays it back at full. Look at that, no problems, full. See how long it takes before it starts dropping frames at full. And you might see now that the light has actually come in when that door's open. You might see a bit of reflections now. So that is fantastic. Actually, really good performance. Performs like pretty much the same as a Surface Book Pro 13-inch. Sorry, a Surface Book 2 13-inch. All right, let's see how it performs in Lightroom. I'm going to import 10 NEFs, 40 megabyte NEFs or 44 megabyte NEFs. We're talking Nikon D800 camera here, so let's just import 10 of these. Let's go for it and see how quickly it imports it. The SD card slot, it's a full-size SD card slot, but it's not very fast. It's only going to get around 24 megabytes per second, so it'll get you out of jail. You can, you know, read your SD card, your full-size SD card, but it is very slow. So that's just one thing you got to note there, but at least it has it, so I'm not going to complain too much. Okay, all right, so we have 10 photos here. Let's see how quickly it goes into those previews. Boom, boom, nice. Yep. Nice, fast, look at that, nice and fast. Didn't take too long to import them. They are pretty big files, so took a little bit time to load there. Let's have a look. No, it's nice and snappy actually. No problems here with Lightroom. We'll just do a bit of developing. All right, let's have a look here. All right, so I like to put on my highlights in that. Let's see where the highlights are on this. All right, let's bring that back, get it as wide as possible. All right, so it's a little bit blown out there, that's fine. There's the blacks, bring the blacks in a bit. Don't want it too black, but yeah, just bring a bit of those highlights down a little bit. You can see it instantly does these sort of updates, so it is pretty fast. Clarity, if you have a look at that, that's super fast, so you're going to have no problems editing video in Lightroom. I'll just use an adjustment brush, and what I'll do is I'll try and take away that black there, that clipped black. So I'll just try and lighten that up a bit. We don't want to do the exposure, we want to just get rid of those blacks there. Look at that, super fast. Very good for Lightroom. You'll have no issues with this, and even the imports weren't that slow considering that it has a really slow SD card slot. So this thing for the price is a great content creation device. It doesn't have the power of the XPS 15 or even the MacBook Pro or anything in those categories. It does have Ultrabook parts, but it compares very well with the Surface Book 2 quad core power. You can put more power into it. You can put about 28 watts of power into it. And if you're lucky enough to have the good firmware where you can undervolt it, you can put nearly 45 watts of power into this. It can perform like a 45 watt 7700 HQ. So if you're lucky, you're lucky. With me, I don't have that firmware, so I can only put about 28 watts into it. Performs very well. The graphics card is there to help. It's not the best graphics card, but it can game. it's very serviceable with all 3D applications, and for video editing and that, it's really good. So I highly recommend this, especially for the price. It's a very good device for content creation. So that's it, guys. Catch you in the next one. Tally ho.